Schwab,
Yes.
Yu Jung, and Zuteng. Now, Zuteng, you were absent yesterday, right?
Yeah.
Okay, you were the only person without. This is everything that we did. You'll need to complete this
Okay.
crossword, and we'll read the newsletter, and then that's for today. All right. So first of all, I'm not the kind of person to do April Fools. So I do April Fools all the time with all my friends and my colleagues, so you won't really see any April Fools from me today. The word for today is hurdle, but it's very often found as a plural. Hurdle. Okay, has anybody ever heard life is full of hurdles? Anybody heard that? Life is full of hurdles. All right, now do any of you ever watch like the Olympics or the sporting events where they're out on the track and they're like running and stuff? Yeah, no, you're exactly right. Okay, hurdles are those things that you jump over. It's like then jump, jump. Those are actually called hurdles. So a hurdle literally means a barrier or something that stands in your way. Okay, it literally means a barrier or something that stands in your way. However, okay, hurdle has more meanings now, okay, that are a little bit more, a little less literal, okay? So it could be like a difficult problem to overcome. Or you can say simply an obstacle. Right. All of these would be ways to define hurdles. All right. As you are finishing writing down this definition, I want everybody to turn in their homework that was due today. So the questions and answers for the language article that's due today. So just have that ready and turn it into me. Make sure your name is on it. Is it now?
No.
Oh, I thought you meant now. I'm like, yes, no. Yeah, perfect. Oh, completely. Overcome just means, like, if you have a problem and you achieve it, that's the overcome. Come over is like to invite someone over to your house. Like, hey, come over to my house. We're having dinner tonight.
She didn't breathe.
All right, it'll be due to late tomorrow. All right, it's late. It's late after right now.
Okay, I will give you.
Okay, give me. You.
To change.
Got it? All right. I will need this because this is both an assignment and a performance grade. So if you don't turn it into me now, it's late. But I do need it eventually. Okay, because you can't bear to have a performance grade at a 0. That's pretty bad. All right. So that's it for me today.
Alright, so now it's my turn. So since we have I guess you guys have a midterm coming up Thursday?
Well, your next test is tomorrow,
Next test tomorrow. Yes.
which I told you.
So let's do again our little practice on the vocabulary, right? So we want to break up into teams again. Maybe you 4 and you 4 right here. and then you flip. You're on a team?
Bye.
Am I on a team?
Well, you're not on a team. Okay.
Oh, please.
Do you guys want to group together, or do you want to just shout out? Shout out. Okay. All right. Well,
You say shout out just because you don't want to move.
he's in the corner there. All right. Let's start with this first word. It's the hardest one to spell, really. All right.
Slide change. Slide, you don't slide change.
There you go. Good. Good. So you got team one with Ahmed. 1 point. All right. So next word. Is thrive. What does it mean to thrive?
Able to live.
To be live,
Able to live.
to be live, and good.
I think Omar got it maybe first. So get 1 point there. Yeah, so like able to live, right? And to grow and become bigger because it's alive, right? Right, what about this word? Suffrage.
Ability to vote.
Ahmed's too fast. We gotta trick him somehow. Maybe I'll hold the board like this. Alright, I think this is one y'all just did. You can read it or not. It's secular.
Not religious.
Alright, right here. Not religious, right? So it'll make you all team 3.
For 3 points.
Wow.
I think we will see these vocabulary today.
Hmm?
Tomorrow.
You'll see what?
These vocabulary tomorrow.
Yes.
Exam.
Yes. Alright, what does it mean when someone's nagging?
Annoying.
Asking for something.
Insist on something.
Insisting. Ali, give me your definition too. Allah.
Like insisting on something in an annoying way.
Right. So I think you have the best definition there.
What?
What?
We are team three.
Is there a team 4? Oh,
Mr. Wilson.
That's it. Just these 2 right here.
I think it's just 3.
I'm
There's
team
12
4 or
students
team
and
2.
4 on each team. So
Okay.
You are team 4.
yeah, I am team 4.
Oh.
Are you with us in team 3?
I don't know.
How
All right, for
If
this
you are,
one,
then we're
I want someone to give me a
Well,
definition.
we are team 2 or 4.
You're gonna lose anyway. No, I'm just kidding. So on this one, I want you to give me a definition, and then I want you to give me an example of one. All right?
Compression without using us or lie.
All right. Now give me an example.
She's such well.
Be nice.
Well, she's such a well.
Such a
Oh
way.
no, so mean. So mean. All right, I'll give you a point for that. That's a good one to know. All right, what does it mean to be versatile?
Many uses
Right. Yeah. So something has many uses. Versatile.
example Vicky.
Go ahead.
Versatile.
What?
Vicky is a versatile.
Yeah, a versatile teacher. Yeah, versatile
Yeah,
and
versatile
versatile.
teacher. She can teach reading and speaking and all those things.
You okay?
Yes.
All right.
Okay.
What if something's obsolete?
So it's like please,
No longer in use.
Here's
All
no longer in use.
all
okay. Like Nokia.
Think about that as the person saying no longer in use. Everyone else is saying no longer, but that's not it. It's no longer in use, right? So what team are you on, Bada?
We are on team 2.
Alright,
Yeah.
see, I get
Really?
Stay in team 1.
Alright, on where you can't answer this one because we talk about it all the time. Malleable.
Able to be shaped.
Flexible.
Flexible,
Yeah.
able to be shaped.
Twisted.
Right.
Able to be shaped.
Remold.
Able to be shaped, that's
Or
probably the best
change.
definition there.
Remold.
I said
Of course it
it.
does.
Let's say team 3.
Okay.
Why? I said that. Able to be shaped.
Give you one. We give you half one.
Oh, that's
I want to change.
Okay, so this word, we talked about how it has several definitions, so maybe we can get a couple of them.
Group together.
Right? Someone's studying. Alright, so give me another, to group together, right? So you have an assembly of people, they group together. But what's
Or
another definition?
association.
Yeah, to put things together, right?
To bring together.
Right. So if you get a new, some new furniture and you have to put it together, you assemble it, right? Alright, what does it mean to prioritize something?
Organize.
In order from both.
Putting it in the list.
What's things in order from both.
What list of
Something important
of
for
important
Importance
things
first, yeah.
in the list.
I think Ali was on point. What do you team do?
Team 3.
Well, when you prioritize, I will say when you prioritize, you don't necessarily have to make a list.
No,
I mean, it can be in your mind, but to
right,
prioritize just means to put one thing, make it more important than another.
right, yeah.
So, like for me, whenever I leave reading class, my first priority is to go to my CIS and put in attendance, or else I'll forget to do it. So, we all have our priorities.
And in a way you are doing it before everything else, but it's just one thing that you're prioritizing. So what does it mean when something is peer reviewed?
Any work that is read.
Or,
But what was your answer?
Any work that is read.
Say it again?
Any work
is
that
by
is
who?
read.
Oh, you're
By
cheating.
who? This answer. By who?
And
Okay, answer.
any text that were reviewed from experts
As a
or
prof.
Okay,
Abroad
so
by
other
experts.
professors, other
Yeah.
doctors, right.
Double six.
So what else?
شوف الجملة.
Why don't talk? Why you talk? Stop, talk. Please. كانت تمشي مشي.
ما جرحت لي ما جواب
ليش لا؟
Let's spell this right. Alright, so if something's unprecedented,
No preceded.
Never work.
alright,
Before now, no experience.
Never
Yeah.
before job before.
so it hasn't happened before.
Yeah.
Unprecedented.
Team 2.
We'll give the other half of the point to team 2 for that.
أنا غيرت. team 1 now.
أصلا.
Alright, what happens when you engrave something?
So put something ornamental.
To care or write.
You write something or
To carve or
craft
write
something
beside.
on
So that's good, that's better. So it's better to say when you carve onto metal, right? You're carving something onto metal. Who might engrave something? Where would you go to get something engraved? Jewelry store, a jeweler, yeah. So that's another point for team 2.
No.
Yeah, many vocabulary.
So I think that's almost pretty much all of them. Did we do this one yet?
No.
Able to live.
Alright.
Able to live.
Able to life.
Able
Able
to
to
live,
life.
right? So
Team 2.
One.
Team
I
2.
think team 1-1. But viable, we talked about it being as able to be to live. But usually you'll hear it said like a viable option. So that means that's an option that will work. It's something that if you have a viable option, then as opposed to options that don't work, right? So it's one doesn't necessarily have to be living. But when you're talking about in scientific context, if you have like a biology class or something like that, we'll say this is a viable environment for this animal. It means they can live in it.
Can it be a synonym for fertile?
Yes, in a way, but fertile means more like fertile
Able to
has
reproduce?
like the perfect conditions for plants to grow in or whatever. But yeah, a fertile land would be viable for plants to grow in. So yeah, they're pretty close to them. All right, so that's it for vocabulary. Make sure you study those for the test tomorrow because they may or may not be in there.
So you mark them?
Or
White sheet or?
or
That's smart.
from beginning.
All right, so did everyone read the
Most of the words that are on the test, he did in class today. Most of them. I mean, there may be a few from previous tests, but most of the ones that are on the test, he just reviewed. So if you knew the ones that he just asked, you're in good shape. But I did not write the test, so
Oh,
don't ask me.
Good.
Why not?
why not?
because I wrote it.
Yes.
All right, so did everyone read this opening the door of your heart reading last night?
I read the first paragraph.
You read the first paragraph.
First paragraph. Second paragraph.
How was it that you make the
The what?
overhead projector?
Oh, the document camera?
Yeah.
It should be document camera top middle. And then you actually have to turn it on the side of it. Yeah, back left.
All right, so what did y'all think about this reading? You want to have any opinions about it?
Boring.
I thought it was boring. Why did you think it was boring?
Because it's like very long and we can write it in shorter paragraph.
Could have been written shorter.
Yeah.
So like
It's
the
just
children's
short
story.
Like a children's
story.
story. Like a
Like
parable.
story time story.
That's short.
Right.
I don't think that.
So this is what you might call a parable. Which is like a story that has a meaning. That teaches. So this whole story about the monks is a parable, and it's like a metaphor, but it's a whole story. So if you take a metaphor and make it a whole story, we call that a parable. A lot of times you hear about Jesus gave a lot of parables in the Bible. He would tell stories, and he was trying to make a point, and he meant something different, like a metaphor, but it was a story that he told, and so people have kind of figured out from that what he meant, you know. So this whole thing is like is a parable. It's like because it teaches you something. Now, what was it trying to teach you?
To open your heart.
Ourselves.
Open your heart, live for yourself, right? Did anyone have any problems with any of the vocabulary?
What does bandits mean?
Bandits?
Thieves?
Yes.
Group of thieves?
Right.
Or on the street?
Yeah, bandits are like, you wouldn't really call you wouldn't really say call people bandits anymore. It's kind of an older word to use, but it does mean like a thief or someone who robs people. More like, you know, back in the day they would rob people on horse or something like that. The bandits. Yeah, so they're
Related to
thieves.
street? Thieves on the street?
I wouldn't call a street thief a bandit. I would say that it's more like someone who, if you're traveling on the road and you come across them, they'll steal from you. Okay? So like a street thief isn't really a bandit, it's just a thief, you know. What about this word unconditional?
Like without
Conditions?
unlimited.
It's not normal.
Unlimited is good.
It is amazing.
But so you said without conditions, but what are conditions?
Condition mean normal.
Say it again?
Normal.
Situation.
About rules?
Well, yes, A condition is a situation, but in this context, it means something different. So if it's unconditional, you have unconditional love. Do you understand what unconditional love is? You all know that?
Without
Without limit, okay. So you don't put any conditions on it. So a condition is a situation. That's one meaning of the word. But it also can mean
Limit.
a limit or a requirement, something that you have to do before something. So if you have no requirements for your love for someone, then it's unconditional, right? Okay, what about this word? People always use this word instead of my last name because my last name is Rangel. They say Wrangle.
I think
Wrangler.
kind of car.
Kind of cow? Well,
Cars,
here-
cars.
Say it again.
Kind of cars.
Cows?
A
Cow.
Jeep run.
Cars.
Car.
Oh, car? No, Wrangler though. That it is a type of car. You're right. You're right. But what it comes from
It's the
is.
same spelling.
Does anybody have any idea?
I think to negotiate somebody and
Make deal with
to
someone.
make the like
Okay, yeah, it's very close. Yeah. So in this situation, he was negotiating. That was the type of wrangling that he did. It means to negotiate or even to struggle with someone. You might even fight with them. Physically or with words or whatever to get what you want. But what this word comes from is ranching. So you would wrangle cattle. The cowboys, you know what cowboys are, right? When they lasso the cattle, that's called wrangling. They're wrangling cattle. So you can see how this word has become a metaphor for trying to get something from someone who doesn't want to give it to you. So in this story, the bandits, they wanted their way, and the monk wanted his way, and he had to wrangle the bandits like they were cows or cattle. So, say it again.
is it common?
Wrangle? Yeah, I'd say it's like medium. It gets used a lot, like trying to wrangle something out of somebody, or yeah, people use that word for sure. Did anyone else have any other words that were strange for them? Or new for them? What does it mean? This is actually on one of the comprehension questions you're going to do, but what do these words mean? Don't know.
Yourself.
Right, so this is just equals yourself. What was that? Your, right.
Why? Why he wrote? Why
Okay,
he didn't
so
your?
this is it's not an old English way, but I think like a Middle English or later Middle English, they would say thyself or instead of yourself. But we still understand it as English speakers because it's used very often in the Bible. So like in this story, he talks about Judeo-Christians,
Oh.
and he talks about love thy neighbor as thyself. That's a direct quote from the Bible. And in the Bible, it often says thy instead of you,
Your.
and thyself instead of yourself, because it just gives it like kind of a fancier, more religious tone. Makes you think that it's a writing from the past, so it has more power, right? It has more meaning. You will, if you're going to do any kind of liberal arts classes here, and you're reading older texts in English, you probably see words like thyself and thine is another. What do you think thine means?
Yours.
Yeah, your. Thyself and your. So basically the you replace the THY at some point in English. So just in case you see that in the future, it doesn't confuse you.
I use those words once a week in church, and that's it.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly. Yeah.
Otherwise, it's not going to be found. But
So it's related to religion?
Yeah.
no, it's not connected to religion. It's just that religion tends to be more traditional and will hold on to some of these older words, whereas in everyday English usage, they're no longer used.
In most prayers, you'll say that. You'll say thy instead of your. Alright. I don't know. I have a hard time spelling this word actually myself. Like I already misspelled it. Maybe I've already had this word before.
Nope.
Poignantly.
Very
Now, this is a
important.
difficult word even for, well, it's difficult for me to understand. Does anyone have any idea what poignantly means?
Where is it?
I know what it means.
What does it mean, Andrew?
Poignant is just something that's like almost sweetly significant. So if
Yeah.
something is poignant, it means that you remember it. It's precious. It's significant. It's hard to give an example of poignant.
Well, and this story is poignant because you have a person who's in a bad situation and makes a decision that makes you feel good. He decided not to kill any of his brothers, and that gives you a poignant feeling. It's a poignant story. It's kind of sappy, but sappy meaning like kind of like cheesy or whatever. But
Yeah. And meaningful.
Poignant.
So I would say just sweetly significant
and meaningful.
and meaningful. Like yesterday, I was telling my story of when I was in the hospital back in November and December and almost died. And I told it to someone, and they were very inspired. They heard it was like, this is a wonderful story. I'm so proud of you. You have a very strong spirit, and that was a poignant story.
Right. Synonym will maybe be touching,
Or effective.
affected. Yeah, that's pretty close. So if you found the movie touching, you would find it poignant. But it's hard to really put a definition on this word. It's just a feeling we have. So, just a couple other words I want to make sure you know. What does it mean? They talk about sublime love. On page
I think you
2.
don't know that.
Sublime. Does anyone know what sublime means?
Fancy.
Say fancy.
No.
Right. No, you can't see. You say.
Fancy.
So
Real low.
to bring low.
Real low.
No. Okay. So sublime. This word has two definitions. If any of you are going into like chemistry or biology or anything like that, you're going to see the word sublimation. Yeah. And that means to convert from solid straight to a gas. So it's a process in chemistry where you convert something from a solid straight to a gas. Do you understand that?
So no.
But we use it metaphorically to mean something that is
Great.
Or matter.
Something amazing. Great.
amazing, great, but more along the lines of like religiously, like God is sublime because He is like a gas compared to us solids, right?
It's above.
So if something's sublime, it's so amazing that it's been lifted up, like maybe closer to heaven or something like that, So here's a scientific definition, but if you just use the word sublime, it just means that it has like higher worth. Not in terms of money, but in terms of it's just better or closer to God or heaven. Okay, and then one last one. Oh, I'm sorry. To convert straight from a solid to a gas. Andrew, you have those handouts actually from the
I probably do. They might be on that desk behind Sanad. I'll just pass that all to him.
What does it mean if something is trifling? This is the adjective, right? The noun is trifle.
That's a good word.
Trifling. If you're this has actually become part of slang too. So a trifle is just something small, insignificant, not worth anything.
Doesn't mess up.
Doesn't matter, not worth your time. So trifling would be the adjective version of that. You're gonna hear a lot of say it again? It's not necessarily, I mean it is probably
It's not
probably
useless, it's just not important.
It's not important.
Not necessary.
Yeah, like maybe, learning the longest word in English that's some scientific word is a trifling exercise. This actually in African American slang is used a lot. They'll still call it someone trifling. Like that just means that you are like not worth anything.
Wow.
You're probably trying to get money off of people without doing anything. So if someone calls you trifling, that's a pretty bad insult. It just means you're kind of a loser and
Loser?
yeah.
I've never heard that.
Really?
I've never heard it as slang. But I mean, I guess you're younger and more with it than me. Actually, no,
We're the same age.
we're the same age.
I'm just cooler.
Yeah, you're just cooler than me.
Alright, so do we have these? So why don't we get into pairs and work on these questions together. Charlie, did you?
Yeah.
Alright, find a partner. How about you two work together? And you two.
Two.
And then you two.
How about
Because so we don't have Arabic speakers and just Arabic speakers. Wow. Well, I don't want you speaking Arabic because I know you will.
we speak
I will
French?
not.
French, all that. You too.
No. I don't speak Arabic. I speak Thai.
Speak English.
I'll leave you.
Okay, whoever. Just find partners and start working on this.
Okay.
Me too.
I think
You have no lessons. You have to teach us.
I have papers to carry. I'm just here. I'm like a cry on the wall. I'm inside
I have
the wall. You want to grade listening assignment?
What's that?
See what you can do with
The
it.
idea was kind of like,
Then I can
you should love yourself. It's in the story, the monks live in a cave, and these bandits come along, and they want the cave for themselves as their hideout, as their own base. And the monk, he negotiates with them, he wrangles with them,
We can
and
just,
he
we can
decides
just
that they decide to let him leave, but they're only going to kill one of his fellow monks, and he has to choose which one. And at the end of the story, he chooses not to kill anyone, just to like maybe get all of them killed. You never know what really happens. So that's unconditional love, right? Yeah, he has unconditional love for his brother monks, right? Do you understand this word uncharitable? Let's maybe look at the. Yeah, so like right here. Okay, so one of the monks was useless. One of his fellow monks was useless. And so the author says that he asks the audience sometimes when he tells the story, which of the monks do they think that the main monk chose to kill? and they always say the useless one. He says that that's uncharitable of the audience. Do you know what uncharitable means? Well, that's close. So charitable is like this word charity, right? That's to give to others, give money to others. When you're uncharitable, it means you don't appreciate them, or you aren't willing to see them as like worth value or whatever, worth giving something freely to, right?
You go on.
Maybe start reading it all.
Why does your honor describe the audience, not the
Or just not reading it. Any questions? What question do you have? Okay, so right, so if you read it, he asks the audience sometimes which monk do they think that.
Monk, like a monkey.
Oh, okay. So first off, does everyone know what a monk is?
Yep.
Okay, a monk is like a priest, kind of, but they go and live by themselves, and they just worship, and they don't do anything except be a priest. They don't really necessarily go out and convert people, for the most part.
We learned
There's
on
different kinds of monks.
We learned on the first day of the session that I actually spent time at a monastery.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
monk, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
monk.
like to be, I guess, to walk in charity. I
Right.
guess.
So they usually live in a church, type of church called a monastery, and they just devote themselves to God, right? Or in this case, to the teachings of Buddha. So the second question asks,
Interesting.
uncharitable, the meaning of uncharitable, because the author asks them often. He asks the audience, which monk does he think that got chosen to get killed by the bandits? And the audience always says the useless monk. And and he says that's uncharitable. So what do you think uncharitable means? Yeah, that we don't care about useless people. Right.
And Sasudo, like Jamil.
Right. Alright, so maybe in the interest of time, we can just start working on, we can like go over these together, see what y'all kind of figured out. You guys alright with that? Alright, Carla, tell us what about the first, what do you think is the main idea of this text? Go ahead. Yeah.
The main idea is if we should love ourselves, because if we love ourselves, we will give love to others.
Right, yes. And we should love ourselves unconditionally. Just like the monk did, he didn't choose himself to die or any of his brothers to die. Alright, so this is kind of a difficult question, so let's talk about it. It says, why does the author describe the audience as uncharitable in the second section? So you notice in the second section, the author takes a break from the story, and he talks about when he tells a story to audiences. Because the author of this book, he travels and he tells the story often. And he says that he asks the audience which monk would the brother choose. And they always say the useless one. And he says that we're uncharitable because of that. So who thinks they know what uncharitable means? Actually?
We was
Unkind.
Not forgiving.
What do you
we are
say?
not reconciliate ourselves
Say it again, I'm sorry.
we are not reconciliate ourselves.
Right.
We
decide-
are not tolerant.
Yeah,
I think-
kind of.
Not
They-
forgiving.
Because they were stiff when they chose the useless.
Right, so let's look at this word uncharitable. So you have this part right here, charitable.
Because we don't reconcile ourselves or like that.
Does anybody know what charity means?
Yes.
Okay. So if you're uncharitable, means you don't
Right, Daniel,
give, or charity means to like, give to money to other people out of the goodness of your heart, right? So if you're uncharitable, you probably don't have any goodness in your heart to give to other people. So the audience is uncharitable whenever they say that the useless monk is the one that should die because he's useless. And so normally when you give charity, you're giving to people who would be considered useless or need help. So he's saying that the audience is uncharitable because they don't care about the one that's useless. All right, we talked about, okay, what does the word non-discriminating mean? You know what it means to discriminate?
Distinguish. Down
To distinguish, right? Yeah, that's where it comes from, right?
Discriminate.
That's a technical word. That's a technical definition of it. But in society, when we discriminate against people, we usually discriminate against them on the basis of their color, or their sexuality, or their religion. So it means to hold something against them, to maybe not allow them to have a job because of their religion or their color of their skin. That's to discriminate. That's discrimination.
Maybe we can say like judgments.
Yeah, you
Like
judge
judge
them,
people
or
based on their color or their
right.
race.
So if you discriminate, then you are prejudiced. I don't know how to spell this. Right, yeah. So you prejudged, prejudice. So what does it mean when he's non-discriminating with his
I
love?
think you respect all the people.
Mm-hmm. He loves everyone.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter who they are.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter which type of monk it was, he loved them.
Not see the religion or country or skin.
Right. All right, and the last question. So what does he mean by, well, we already talked about thy and thyself, so we don't need to talk about that one. Where is he talking about when he says the privacy of your inner world? Where's your inner world? Thoughts. What are some other words that are associated with that?
Emotion.
Dreams?
Kind of, yeah. Just you. You know, your
Feeling.
conscious, your inner thoughts, your mind. So in the privacy of your mind, in the privacy of your thoughts, you want to practice self-love. All right. Does anyone have any questions about the text?
Do you want to take it?
No, you can keep it. It's fine. Andrew, you want to talk about tomorrow? We have about 5 minutes left.
I mean, tomorrow is just going to be the test, so there's a vocabulary section. And then also, if you go and check on Ngrade, there is a Prezi link. And do you have that link you could pull up by any chance? There's a Prezi link to the presentation that Ben made last Monday. I wasn't able to attach the PDF file, even though I tried twice. I think the file is just too big to attach on Ngrade. But the Prezi link is just a URL, so you should be able to copy it into the internet browser, and it should be able to open.
Yeah, so, well, do you want me to show it to them again?
If you want to, I can pull it up on Ngrade. Let's see.
Yeah, so look over that, this is the presentation I gave you about tone and purpose and bias. Look over that, because that is on the test. This one, right? So yeah, if you go to the link, that'll touch me.
I think you have to turn off the camera.
I don't know how to do this.
It was there temporarily. Yeah, that's it.
Okay. Yeah, so you go to this link. It's in your emailed it to you, and then just re-look this over, right?
All right, so I'm gonna just review a few of these words because we got like 3 more minutes left of class. Ali, tell me something that's obsolete.
Wii, Nintendo Wii.
That's cool. Are you saying I'm obsolete? Because I have a Nintendo Wii, and I will play it occasionally. But yes, I suppose that is obsolete. I was thinking maybe an old Nintendo from like the 1980s. That would be more obsolete. Nintendo Wii, I still have it. I watch Netflix on my Nintendo Wii. So. Subtle. Tell me, Saud, what would be an example of a subtle flavor? Saud,
Yes.
what would be an example of a subtle flavor?
Change the flavor of the. Are you thinking about food?
Yeah, so like if you're, say you're
If you
eating
add spice
pizza,
or if you add some cheese, extra cheese.
okay, but would that be subtle? I have a friend of mine that likes to make Italian food, and you know what he puts in Italian food? Cinnamon.
What?
Cinnamon. Like the same cinnamon that you would put on top of a coffee or latte or whatever. But it's a very, very subtle flavor. It's not like he has a thing of tomato marinara sauce and that would not be subtle. But it's just a very, very small amount so that when you're eating it, you're like, what is that? It's just very, very slight, very subtle. It actually tastes fine. If you were to put a lot of cinnamon in there, I wouldn't like it at all. But